I'll get to that in a minute, but on that side, if you're uncomfortable with being recorded, you can always reach out to us afterwards, and we can stop the recording for the questions and answers piece of this. With that, we'll get going and talk about the project and get everything off the ground. So good morning. This is the CSO 029 Walton Street Public Information Meeting to talk about what we're doing. This is our agenda. We're going to do introductions, talk about the program and why we're even doing this. And we're going to talk about the project itself, impacts from construction, road and sidewalk closures and impacts to parking, and then open this questions and answers. So that's where we are. And if you have questions as we go today, if you could hold them till the end, that would be great. Everyone can chime in and ask questions as we go. If you have questions that are on the tip of your tongue, if you wouldn't mind putting them into the chat and housing them there until we get to open discussion, or just holding on to them until we get to there. Because a lot of times we end up answering the questions as we go. So we've done this a couple times with other stakeholders, the city and emergency management and whatnot. So hopefully we've got this down pat and fairly succinct. So good morning. I'm Adam Woodburn. I am the Stormwater Management Program Coordinator here at Onondaga County. I am a landscape architect, and I oversee the combined sewer overflow program. On the phone on the county side is Jed Walsh. He is our project coordinator and is really going to be the point person here for public communication for our program and our project. On the Arcadis team, we have Ben Tillotson, engineer, and he looks like his camera's off, so he'll get going here in a little bit. And Ben Taylor, the two Bens from Arcadis, are the technical side of the team, helping us with the engineering on this project. So why are we even doing this? The program overview. So years ago, we invented sewers. Those sewers were storm sewers. And then we invented plumbing. And then we said, where are we going to put the plumbing? And we said the sewers. And those sewers went out to the creeks. Just like on Walton Street. So if you lived on Walton Street in the 1800s, you flushed a toilet and went out to the creek. So then we invented interceptor sewers, which brought the sewers along the creek and down to the lake. And eventually we invented wastewater treatment plants. So that's why we're here, why combined sewers exist, was just kind of the sequence of how things were developed in our older cities. And that's how we end up with what we have as a combined sewer system. So the interceptor sewers were really meant to only convey low level flow, dry weather flow to the wastewater treatment plants. But during a rain event, the interceptor sewers would be overwhelmed with the amount of water, and they would then overflow into the creek. So this was standard business for a long, long time. On how cities were built and how our city was built, and these are allowable as far as regulations are concerned. We just need to control how it happens and how frequently it happens. So on Walton Street, if you go back one slide real quick, the way it works is from Clinton to Franklin, then towards the creek, we have this combined sewer storm pipe that runs towards the creek, and then there's an overflow point, just like that, bump in the road there for the sewer, and then all of the low flows then turn the corner twice and then head back towards the Franklin Street intersection. So this is exactly what happens on Walton Street at CSO 29. Currently, a quarter-inch of rain causes a combined sewer overflow on Walton Street. And the sewer shed really is pretty small. It's just Walton Street, the 4 blocks that are around from Clinton to the creek. So This is what we have here in the city of Syracuse is a combined sewer system. We've been underway for a little while addressing combined sewer overflows, but you know that combined sewage is untreated raw sewage going out to Onondaga Lake and the tributaries, specifically Onondaga Creek, right underneath the Walton Street Bridge. So we have been working on addressing combined sewer overflows in Onondaga County since the late 80s and settled on in 2009 a combined approach of green infrastructure and gray infrastructure to abate combined sewer overflow that gets the rainwater out of the system and address combined sewer overflow. So the green infrastructure is one type of technology, and the gray infrastructure is another type of technology to address the rainwater and overflow issues. So I'll talk about what that means and how we did it here. So gray infrastructure is exactly what it sounds like. It's pipes in wastewater treatment plants to take combined sewage or sewage and address it so that water that is dirty water is now able to be swimmable water. So all of our effluents from our wastewater treatment plant and improvements that we've had there are addressed through gray infrastructure. We also have done some other modifications in our program. So next slide. So these are some of the projects we took on. You may recognize the two pictures on the right are the trolley lot, and they are a humongous storage facility, the Clinton storage facility we call that, that captures a lot of the combined sewer overflows that were upstream of this area and captures it and stores it in there until after the rain event. And then it gets dewatered or pumped out to Metro once Metro has the capacity. And the one on the left is Lower Harbor Brook, which is on State Fair Boulevard. So we did a handful of these gray infrastructure projects, larger scale gray infrastructure projects. We spent $469 million to capture the 312 million gallons. That was not just capture here, but on the next slide, we did significant improvements at the Metro wastewater treatment plant as well, and improved the process there. So these are kind of color coded. You can see where they are housed at Metro. Metro is the wastewater treatment plant on Hiawatha, just over the bridge from the mall. So we upgraded step 3, the advanced treatment with Metro and a whole lot of other upgrades as well. But we spent a bunch of money upgrading our wastewater treatment plant to get upgrade our treatment. So you'll see what that did in the next couple of slides. So when we turned on the bath, we reduced ammonia in the lake and had significant impacts on fish life in the lake as well. And then the next slide is advanced treatment for phosphorus. And we brought the phosphorus on, and that reduced algal blooms in Onondaga Lake and was able to, again, also have positive impact on aquatic life in the lake as well. So big improvements at Metro and amazing water improvements in Onondaga Lake because of it. So green infrastructure is typically what you will see Save the Rain doing, and what we're kind of known for, and why the landscape architect works for the sewer department is because we have these bioretention areas and porous pavers and rain gardens and green roofs and bioswales and all of these sort of technologies that get the rain out of the system and into the ground, and we either infiltrate it into the ground or slowly release it back into the sewers to kind of shave the peak, as we call it. So we have less overflow. So we've spent not quite as much as they did on the gray side, but we've captured a whole lot in gallons, and those gallons are out of the system. So you've seen us at Leavenworth Barker Park or the Hughes Magnet School on the right. We've done a lot of projects, 225 projects around the city that we have installed and work towards maintaining. So this is typically what you would see us doing. There's our on-center green roof and Water Street on the bottom left. The picture on the bottom right is the zoo. So these are some great examples of what you would typically see the Save the Rain program doing under green infrastructure, but this project is more of a gray infrastructure project because of the location. Um, So really quick project overview. I said that this is only a couple of streets, a couple of blocks in the area of CSO 29. We really looked at how can we reduce combined sewer overflows in the area, and because of the density of these two blocks, because of the amount of utilities under the ground under these two blocks, the amount of basements under the ground, we really didn't see green infrastructure as a solution for reducing combined sewer overflows in the area, just because of how the area was built. So we still needed to reduce combined sewer overflows in the area, and so we were looking at a gray infrastructure project to meet that solution, and this will provide benefits to the creek, the lake, and also we're reducing combined sewer overflows right here in downtown. So that will also have positive net benefits on the downtown business district as well. So that's kind of the big program overview, where we are to date and where we are going with the project. Really quickly, we've been working on this for a little while. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the where we've been. The guys are going to talk about the value engineering evaluation that we did in 21. But importantly, the next slide will show you where we're going. Right now, we're wrapping up stakeholder meetings. Our plan is to continue these communications as we move to construction and through construction, to keep the public informed. But the design team is going to work towards 100% design, getting approval from our regulators at DEC, and bidding this and start of construction next spring, with a wrap up of substantial completion by the end of August of 2022. So that's where we're headed. I mentioned we are recording this. We will be sharing this and putting this up on our website, so you can take a look at these dates later and see when it's going to be arriving on Walton Street. So that's our timeline. And at this point, I'm going to hand it off to the technical team to talk about the technical side of the project. You may have heard us talk in the past. We had been talking in the past about doing a significantly bigger project than we are. Our original alternative was looking at impacts on the Franklin and Walton Street intersection and impacts of Walton Street at the bridge. But we did a value engineering exercise to meet the same project goals, but with just construction at the Walton Street Bridge rather than both the intersection and the bridge. So much smaller impact with the same benefits. So that's where we're headed, and why we're kind of slightly different than we have been in the past, if you have seen anything from our technical team. So with that, I'll hand it off to Ben and Ben to talk about the ins and outs of the construction and the project as we have it currently.
Yeah, thank you, Adam, for that introduction and the background on the county's Save the Rain program. Yeah, as Adam said, we did a alternatives evaluation, and we're going to present the current the project scope and the major project elements here. So the major project elements are to replace the regulator structure. This is the structure that controls the CSO overflows to Onondaga Creek. And the regulator structure is adjacent to the Walton Street Bridge. In that regulator structure, we're going to raise and widen the weir. The weir is the control point that regulates flow. in the county's system. It sends flow back to the main interceptor sewer, and then also regulates flow that overtops the weir that goes to the Onondaga Creek. We're going to replace the adjacent piping in and out of this manhole structure, and then there's also a manhole that you'll see in a few minutes that we're going to replace as well that's near the regulator structure. We're going to improve the sidewalk, the ADA ramps, and asphalt improvements to the street in the area of the Onondaga Creek walk and the bridge location. Just to go over some figures here of the project area. So this is the overall site plan currently. As I stated, the work is going to be near the Walton Street Bridge. As you can see here, you can see the creek walk and the area where it crosses Onondaga or Walton Street here. The yellow line is a temporary chain link fence, if you will, construction fence that will be erected, and then the red line here is the construction boundary. So this is the impacts here, the construction boundary. There will be a security guard that's on site to check in visitors. Ben, can you go back one slide just a second? I just want to point out that there is that parking area between Walton Street and Fayette Street that we will be using for the contractor to store equipment, any materials, and access the site. Next slide. So this new regulator structure is designed to be 10-foot diameter, completely underground. As I said prior, we'll have new piping to and from this regulator structure, and we'll also be replacing the manhole 2, as it's called here, that's just to the north of the regulator structure. Next slide. So there are some utilities underground that we have taken a close look at, and we've spoken to the utility purveyors, National Grid, City of Syracuse Water, and so they're well aware of the project. There is a electrical duct bank, I guess, that runs parallel to the creek walk. That's the heavy, thick red line there that runs north-south. And then there's also some miscellaneous electrical to street lighting. And then the yellow line there is a gas line that runs and that actually terminates at the bridge. So it's a one-way gas line along Walton here. Green line are the combined sewers. There is only just the one water line that runs, I guess, east-west along the curb line of Walton Street. So that will be protected in place. There is one blow-off water connection that we'll be looking at closely and relocating there to have space for this regulator structure. So this is our current contract or current engineering drawing that shows the regulator structure and the new manhole 2 to the north. As Adam said previously, the flow does come down Walton Street from east to west and returns via this manhole 2, and then the sewer that runs basically back to the Franklin Street intersection that intercepts the main interceptor sewer that takes the flow to Metro. So that's kind of the flow path, as Adam said prior on the figure there. So we are doing our best here to the intent here is to protect that duct bank in place, the electrical duct bank, with no interruption of service, and as well as the gas line itself. This dotted line here is the excavation support system. So this will be like the limits of our excavation pit around the regulator structure and this manhole 2 structure. Next slide. So the construction sequence, as we see it, the excavation protection, the bypass pumping that will be set up, and then the relocating of that water line, the blow-off connection, is anticipated to take 4 weeks. The next 8 weeks will be actually demolition of the existing sewer system, the existing manhole, installing a helical pile system. The soils here are pretty poor condition adjacent to the creek, so we do need a small pile system to support this new regulator structure. And then the actual installation of the manhole and the piping itself in this 8-week period.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you. Just for reference for the folks here who are unaware, when people hear piles, I think the first thing they think of is.
Yep.
So if you could just explain briefly what helical piles are and why we're using them, so essentially we can avoid.
Yes, helical pile is essentially a screw, if you will. So it's installed by a machine that just actually drills the pile into the ground. So there's no noise, there's no hammering, there's no vibrations. So the piles are just installed in that way, and then they're actually filled in with a grout material that gives them rigidity in the center to support, in this case, the new manhole structure above it. So that's the pile installation, and then the final 5 weeks are the backfill, compaction, and then the restoration, including sidewalks, ADA ramps, and the street asphalt. So here's our maintenance and protection of traffic detour plan that's anticipated. The full road closure at the Walton Street Bridge. So there will be access to Walton Street from both sides of the bridge here. And the traffic will be routed around Fayette to Franklin to get to the other side of to Walton Street. So we're anticipating a 4-month closure here of the Walton Street Bridge. And then, as I said, there will be detour signs to direct traffic around the area. Next slide. Here's our anticipated creek walk closure and detour plan. So the creek walk will remain open. It just will be directed around the Walton Street block. And then a temporary crosswalk will be installed on Walton Street there, as you can see, and directed back to the creek walk. The sidewalk will remain open on the Walton Street Bridge on the southern side of the bridge here. And this just shows the actual sidewalk along Walton Street, and the pedestrians will be directed to the side of the bridge that's on the south side. That will remain open. Here's our anticipated parking impacts. I will note here that the private parking lot that's on the south side of the project, adjacent to the creek walk, will remain open. The red boxes here depict the areas that will be impacted for parking. That city parking lot that I described before between Fayette and Walton Street. And then also the parking that's currently on the bridge area and portions of Walton Street to the east of the project area. Next slide. So we're at the point now where we'll take any questions, comments regarding the project.
And I think that's my cue. I'm going to step in and just introduce myself again. Adam mentioned before, I work in conjunction with him on wet stormwater stuff, specifically the Save the Rain project, which focuses primarily on the green infrastructure component. But clearly, green, gray, we work with a combination of the two. So I'm going to be stepping in as the main point person on this. I'll be available to take any questions. I will answer them if I'm able and filter them to the appropriate resource if I'm not. We will, as mentioned before, be making this video available on our YouTube channel and on the website, the project page, which includes additional details about the project, our contact information, and actually I will put the link in the chat box right now. So you can maybe bookmark that if you're interested enough. And again, if you just go to our site, you can do a simple keyword search. And if you have access to that postcard that we sent out, digital or otherwise, the address is listed on there. So I don't see any comments so far in the chat box, although it looks like America may have one. I don't know if anyone wants to go ahead, perhaps starting with America and chime in. I see Timothy Perez also, but we'll go with you first, America.
I had started to type and then I held my typing. So just a couple of questions. The 10 parking spaces that are impacted on Walton Street, is that because of the proximity to the construction site?
Yeah, I think really it's the limits of the construction site proper. Okay. And again, we hope to constrain it to just the construction site, but on certain days, given the comings and goings of various equipment and deliveries, it may impact beyond that, but we'll make all possible efforts to make sure it doesn't. But yeah, to your question, it's really just where the construction is occurring and where the equipment is staged. And perhaps anybody at Arcadis or Adam has additions to make to that, but I think that's essentially what we're talking about.
And then with still on the theme of parking, just because parking is at a premium, particularly the availability of parking options for customers and visitors coming in. You had mentioned the use of the city's parking lot next to the Mill Pond Landing building for construction staging. Yep, the red parking lot here, city lot. Is that being utilized for construction staging and equipment and things like that because it would be inaccessible, during the project because of where the manhole covers are located? That's
right. Yep. And maybe these guys could speak to that a little bit more, but essentially, yeah, because of the location of the construction, it would essentially be off limits anyways.
Okay.
And that's correct. The driveway entrance to that parking lot off of Walton Street is essentially where the hole in the ground is going to be. So
okay.
There are removable bollards, from what I understand, on the north end of that parking lot, but the curb is not mountable on the Fayette Street side. Given that we couldn't have access coming in off of Walton, our thought was that we would use it for the contractor's space so that they can bring in and out equipment and whatnot. We will try and make it so that is accessible as much as possible if the contractor isn't going to use that space. But the thought is that the contractor will probably need that space for deliveries and storage of equipment and whatnot. So the bypass pumping will have to be in and around this area as well. So some of that will take up space inside the construction. It seems like a big area, but once you start putting construction equipment in here, it will take up all of the area probably pretty quickly. So.
Then just one more comment on parking, and then I do have one last question. So if there are opportunities to free up public spaces for visitors or patrons to Armory Square, again, we'd be happy to help try to identify nearby opportunities for storage of equipment. Because I think, again, just some of the, trying to keep, we've had a lot of construction underway in downtown this past year. And so, any opportunities we have to, provide additional parking to the public, even if it is coming off of the, Fayette Street side with those removable bollards, or it's leaving construction sites in good order. So it looks like, people care about the area. We've run into, spaces where like bricks are strewn across. And I think subcontractors who come in to do the work may not necessarily understand, like they're working within a neighborhood. So, opportunities to educate the contractors on the importance of maintaining, neat and tidy sites would be appreciated. But then also we'd be happy to help identify other nearby parking spaces, either for contractors or for storage. And then the last question I have is with the, you'd shown, I think in the previous slide to this, maybe the sidewalk path where people, where it's going, right by where Urban Outfitters used to be, and then I guess right into the front of where Vagabond Clothing is located. Will a temporary crosswalk, be striped, or a path created to allow pedestrians to easily access the north side of that block?
Yes, both on the west and east sides will be where we'll be routing that foot traffic. We will have temporary crosswalks constructed.
Thank you.
And speaking to your comments about the parking, we will absolutely continue our relationship with you and the downtown committee. And if you if we encounter any problems or we determine that there are any more efficient solutions between now and the commencement of construction, we'll happily explore that with you. We'd be happy to do so. And I believe there was one other element to the parking that I'm forgetting.
Might have been contractor, a subcontractor.
Yes, site cleanliness. Yep. That's absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's really one of our foremost concerns. We have people out in the field every day. Our crew, as we refer to our one gentleman that works for us in maintenance, always has his eyes open and ears to the ground. And I myself, and I know Adam, take pride in keeping our sites and contractors within the limits of the environment that we're in. We're trying to make sure is conducive to those particular goings on. In this case, commerce, residential. We understand that there's a wide variety of uses, recreational for that matter, as far as the creek walk. We'll be going out of our way to ensure site cleanliness and orderliness for both aesthetic purposes and safety.
And thank you. I mean, you guys were fantastic when we worked up around Dinosaur Barbecue with you in terms of the outreach and responsiveness. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. We're always there to work with you, and we'll keep a close eye on the progress. We will have, I think we had mentioned before, not in this meeting, we will have 24-hour surveillance. We'll have a guard booth. So we'll have eyes on the scene at all times. And alert to not only security risks, but health and safety risks as well. Does anyone have anything else? Oh, I believe we've got a question from Timothy. He's had his hands up for quite a while, so please. And if you could,
just unmuted. Just waiting my turn here. America,
yeah, sorry about that. Thank you.
That's okay. America, am I to understand that you're with the downtown committee? Listen, I moved downtown about 3 years ago. You guys do a wonderful job. I love the emailed newsletters. I wouldn't have known about this meeting without it. So thank you very much for what you guys do. So backing that up, I live on 211 West Jefferson, the Sugarman Law Firm building, about a block away. So this will have a pretty heavy impact on my life. Questions I came up with is why aren't we replacing the water lines when the road's all torn up, since that's one of the biggest problems with the city of Syracuse is the deteriorating infrastructure of the water lines?
So that's a great question. I can take that one. When we were having a bigger impact on Walton Street, we actually had gone to a pretty good extent and have been coordinating with the city of Syracuse about replacing of water lines in our area where we were working. And the water lines that are in this area where we are working, we will bring up upgrade as needed and as possible. So it's not that we haven't coordinated with the city. We are coordinating with the city, but and I think there have been discussions at the city about Walton Street as we're talking to the city and National Grid about our construction project. There has been talks about other projects as well. So we are doing our best to coordinate with other utilities. That is a great question, and we actually a lot of times end up replacing stuff with the city as we're working. So hopefully that is a good enough answer to your question. It's a good question, and we do our best to coordinate. And so they're both aware that this is going on and could come on the heels of us, but also we're addressing what we can and where we impact. We actually required, as we come across lead water services, to replace them as part of our program as well. So I hope we're doing a good job, because we try pretty hard to coordinate with city water and other utilities.
Okay, perfect. Couple more questions. Why, with the disruption downtown right now, as we know, every road's torn up, and we get that we got to spend this money before we lose it. I love that it's all being done at once. Why aren't we milling and paving the rest of Walton Street during this project? Walton Street's a disaster. If you weekends on Walton, if you walk across I mean, you could throw ankles in a lot of places.
It's another good comment. So that as a county, we kind of end at the sewers here. It's a city street. I know that, like we said, we've been involved with discussions with the city about ADA issues and a project they were looking at with Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation Council. So I think there is some bigger discussions at the city about Walton Street as well. They've been talking about doing another project after us. So I don't think it's lost on the city that that Walton is something that needs to be looked at and addressed at some point. It's just not the scope of the county's project, unfortunately. We will be a partner with the city if they want to move forward with that bigger project, but this is the extent of what the county is kind of on the hook for.
Okay, so at this point in time, we feel weekends on Walton will still continue next year, as far as you know. I know it could change, but I know it's just a big boost to the businesses down there.
That's a good question, and something we should reach out to the city on. And make sure that they understand that, like, this impact should not stop that, and do what we can to help keep that going.
Okay, one last question is, how are we paying for this? Is this some of the federal money as well?
No, this is these funds and this program are funded by sewer unit taxes. So when you flush a toilet, that you pay for that water to be treated, and those funds are then used to upgrade the sewer infrastructure.
Okay, that answers all my questions. Thanks, guys.
Yep. And I think I see that James has his hand raised, but also I believe Russell Hauk has a question or two that came in ahead of that. So Russell, if you wanted to go on, unmute yourself and go ahead.
Sure. Am I coming through?
Yes, absolutely. Loud and clear.
Okay. You had the Creek Walk detour slide. If you could pull that one up real quick. If you could add signage in there that shows that the Creek Walk continues over to West Street as well, the new portion of the Creek Walk. So we're really, it's going in two directions. along Walton Street. So it would be kind of adding a sign that goes directs people under the railroad bridge to West Street. So I don't know, it'd say Creek Walk West Street, and the other way is Creek Walk Armory Square, I think would be.
Okay, so
That makes sense.
So
Yeah,
so
follow.
so in terms of making our plans available to the public, just make sure that we incorporate all of the paths of travel for the creek walk.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, and we're actually gonna be out there today, stenciling some additional creek walk signage out there.
Okay.
Okay. And then
Yeah, please reach out to me when construction rolls around. You know, if you have any signage requests or
Yep.
you know, just ideas for clarification, please be in contact with me, and I will you know, I'll coordinate with either Arcadis or fellow folks at WEP or the city downtown committee or city hall. But yeah, please use me as the principal contact. You'll find my contact information on the webpage for the Walton Street project. Please be in touch.
Okay. Yep. And then the final point, we have a new creek walk map just north of that manhole 2. I think there's the bike rack there for the old bike rental program. I think that's going to be close to ground zero of the equipment and the construction, and maybe that should be moved before it gets damaged. You could take a look at it. It's right there where the bike rack is.
Okay. Yeah, and just to keep it available for people to use as a reference. Okay.
Yeah, it's in concrete now. It's a concrete base, but I think it'd be better to move it than to have it damaged and take a couple of months to replace it.
Sure.
And we can find a place to move it to as well, or just temporarily store it somewhere else. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. And again, please reach out as any more occur to you. Okay, James.
Hi, I'm James
Hi.
Moran. I own Vagabond Clothing. We're the closest business to this project. I'm looking at 2 questions. One is in terms of the road being open, Walton Street, on how do you anticipate turnaround? You've got people parking on those streets and people delivering trucks coming in. How do you anticipate those vehicles that are facing 2 different directions coming in? How are they going to turn around? How do they get out of there? What's the egress to that street?
that was a comment that city engineering had also made, and we're going to make sure that you know, we carefully measure those distances and establish that we do in fact have enough clearance. I don't know if Arcadis has done any work on that, if they have any measurements made, any logistics sorted out, but I'll let Ben speak to that.
I think the comment from city engineering, Jed, was that it might be worth just having parking on one side of Walton. That would give ample room for vehicles to turn around. So
right.
I think that's one thing that we need to consider.
Right, and if that is what we do, that does have a you know, a significant impact on parking.
Yep.
You know, whether we would restrict it to just one turnaround point at the end, try to limit it as much as possible. Obviously, not necessarily just all on one side on that whole block. But yeah, no, that James, that question was raised by engineering. Adam and I were just down on site the other day scoping it out. I'm not sure how much of an issue it will be, but we will look at it very closely.
I would have to say for larger vehicles like delivery trucks and 18-wheelers, it's going to be a big deal. You're not going to bring a 50-foot trailer down to the construction site, turn it around, right? So
absolutely.
The throughway, you're not going to want thoroughfare for large vehicles. That's for sure.
Understood.
They're going to get trapped in there.
Yep, and we'll try to be good about signage in that regard too. Obviously, certain disruptions are unavoidable, and large trucks, I'm sure, are used to dealing with municipal development obstructions. But we'll try to be clear with the signage, and we will take everything into consideration and try to be carefully planning those logistics.
My other question is, I know a lot of these projects you anticipate the inconvenience to the community and to the businesses involved. Have you budgeted anything for mitigation towards this project in terms of mitigating the impacts on the people who live down here and the businesses that operate here? Like with Weekends on Walton, which many people think is a positive, we had a very negative response to that. Our customers found it very difficult to come down here and do business. So the financial impact during the last 2 summers of having our streets closed down was so unbelievable that we were in a constant fight with the city about it. What would you be doing to try to mitigate the customer's perception of us not being open down here while you're doing this, and trying to help all the businesses that are in Army Square and the residents survive this?
Yeah. No, I understand your point, and given that it's a multi-use district, or the type of clientele that you're reaching and what their needs are sometimes at odds with one another. And I know that can be difficult to monetize too, and quantify. But no, we're sensitive to those concerns. And there has not been any discussion about any money held in reserves for offsets of such impacts. But you're welcome to voice your opinions and concerns on the record, and we can take them to the top, as it were.
Where do you submit to the record?
To me, you can just send me an email, and I'll happily discuss with county administration.
I'm known for voicing my opinion.
I've noticed, and that's great. Adam said he had a good conversation with you, and that you understand the nature of the work that we do and its importance. And I appreciate that. If anyone is going to work with us more than the others, that it's you who has a pretty good understanding of the various elements and purposes.
Yeah, we advocated for this. We advocated for this project 15, 16 years ago. So
right.
It's coming home to roost that we wanted all this stuff to happen the right way.
Just about on target for government, right?
Right. and it landed right on my doorstep.
Yeah. And James, it's been a good conversation, and I hope we keep our lines of communication open with the project team, and we've discussed a little bit that we've shrunk the impact on Walton quite a bit, as much as possible, to try and reduce our impact as much as we can. And I actually think that our timeline is pretty realistic, but if a contractor wants to be quicker, they will be. So I think that probably our construction timeline is overestimating a little bit how quickly a contractor could get this done if they wanted it done quickly. So that our hope is to get in and get out, and hit it quick, and move on, so that you guys can go back to doing the great things you guys do on Walton Street. I mean, we all love Walton Street, so we really don't want to bring any more disruption to you guys.
City, and we don't want to be an infarction.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
that's all I got.
Thanks for those comments.
Yep. And Brianka raised her hand.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. My name is Brianka
Hello.
Hill. I'm representative from the Business Development Department here at the City of Syracuse. I wanted to circle back to Tim's question in regards to streetscape improvements in the area.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, the city is exploring redesign options and enhancements to the streetscape on Walton Street currently. To reiterate, a study was completed by the Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation Council, And this information included community feedback from property and business owners to provide a range of options being considered for the street. However, further discussions are needed, including cost estimates for a final design, and sources for this funding are still being identified. So there are still more details to come on this, but this currently is being reviewed.
Yeah, thank you for your input, and that's our understanding too. I mean, we're working with the city planning department, regional planning. I know that this is on a lot of people's radar. At the point we were at previously in the earliest iteration of plans, put us square at the heart of that debate. But to Adam's point, along with the limitation restriction of our scope, has kind of resulted in us bowing out of those conversations, which isn't to say that we wouldn't be open to any sort of partnership, should it be relevant, and should we be able to incorporate any additional county work into that. But yeah, we've kind of fallen off those discussions, but I know that they're still occurring.
Okay, great. Yes. And also, as updates are released, we are more than willing to stay in contact with anyone, especially if anyone wants more details on it. So please feel free to reach out to myself, Brianka Hill here at the city, or Eric Ennis in the Business Development Department.
Yeah, thank you very much. Do you want to put your email up in the box?
Yes.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. And I think I may see another hand up, but I don't see a name attached to it.
I think that was just Brianka, Jed.
Oh, okay. So again, we will make this available if you determine you do have any questions, or if you'd rather ask them offline. Our contact information will be available in the next slide. Thank you very much. And again, you can find it on the Save the Rain website at the project page, which I'll put back. I'll put up in the chat box again, just for quick reference.
Great.
And so Marika, were you just going to add some additional resources to the chat, or did you have additional comments to make?
Well, I couldn't. I think Brianka had dialed in, so I was just. I didn't know if she has a chat function, so I was just going to. Because we work with them pretty often, so I was just going to put her email in the chat. But I kept waiting to see if it would pop up. But I will. I will do.
Perfect. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming, and the team internal and everybody else external. I mean, we, it's a project we need to do and we should be doing for water quality, and it's good to have people from the city come to these and help coordinate and provide answers and feedback as well. So and the public as well. So if you're talking to people about this project, let them know that construction is coming, and we will have more of these. And I have a feeling as we get closer to construction, we will probably have more people pay attention. Then when the excavator shows up, everyone will know what's going on, hopefully by that point. So, all right. With that, if you need us, those are our contact information. And thanks everybody for your time this morning.